Hi, and welcome back to your fifth bedtime story. I hope you're now sleeping well, but if sleep is still elusive, don't worry about it and don't try too hard. Just make a commitment to lie down and get comfortable and enjoy the story, and you'll fall easily into the embrace of sleep. Do you recall being soothed by the gentle, rocking rhythms of a train? Well, let's enjoy that experience in today's story. So make sure you're lying down comfortably and take a few slow, deep breaths, breathing in deeply through the nose and breathing out through your mouth. Allowing your abdomen to relax. Enjoy the feeling of the weight of your body, and allow your breath to return to its natural rhythms. Gently close your eyes as we begin the story. Rita tapped her knuckles nervously against the window. It had been years since she had traveled on an overnight train, and she had that familiar feeling of butterflies fluttering in her stomach. Already the train was over an hour late. They should have pulled out of the station at 9 a.m., but now it was past 10, and the sun was already starting to beat down on the dusty platform outside. Vendors selling magazines and brightly colored children's toys still roamed the aisles, shouting their wares in hoarse voices and sing-song rhythms. Rita looked at her phone again for what must have been the 20th time, and as she looked up, she met the eyes of an elderly woman who was sitting opposite her. The woman smiled kindly, as if to say that she understood the frustration of delays. Rita smiled back shyly and then pulled a book out of her bag. The fan above whirred noisily, sending a draft of warm air onto the passengers. So far, in their coupe of 6 berths, there were 4 of them. Rita, the older woman who sat opposite her, clad in a pale grey sari with pink flowers dotted across it, and a young mother with her son who looked about 6 or 7 years old. The little boy kept asking his mother questions. When will we leave? How long will it take us to reach Bombay? How will we all sleep in this small room? The mother, whose face already looked tired, nodded at the other women with an expression of slight embarrassment and tried to quieten her son down, distracting him with a picture book. Rita had just finished her last day of college a few days before, and she was traveling to Mumbai to spend the summer with her favorite aunt. She wasn't sure what she wanted to do next. Study further, or get a job, or maybe take some time off to volunteer. Her aunt was the most open-minded person she knew, and Rita was looking forward to getting her perspective. Just as she was getting engrossed in her book, she heard the groan of the train as it began to move, slowly pulling out of the station. She looked up and out of the window, pleased to feel a cool breeze on her face as the train gradually picked up speed. The little boy shrieked in excitement and clambered over Rita to look out of the window, much to his mother's dismay. Rita laughed and told the mother that it was fine. She loved kids, and the little boy's enthusiasm was infectious. His name was Karun, she soon learned, and he chatted away with all of them. even going to say hello to the passengers in the neighboring compartment. Soon, though, he tired himself and clambered up to the top berth for a nap. They had left the city behind quickly and were now passing through quieter suburbs that soon gave way to the countryside. It was a delight to see the rich greens and blues and yellows of the fields and rivers after the harsh grey-browns of the city. It was a hot day and the sun streamed in, but with open windows on either side and the steady movement, the train felt airy and pleasant. The sky outside was clear, with just a few white, puffy clouds. Rita had settled into her spot by the window, her legs curled up beneath her, and her book in her lap. But she couldn't tear her eyes away from the window. The rhythm of the train and the shifting landscape were almost hypnotic, calming her mind and relaxing her body. The train chugged along, gently swaying from side to side. The sounds of the wheels on the tracks and the engine falling into a regular rhythm. There was something so soothing about the movement and sound. Its regularity was comforting in a strange way. Rita had spent the last few weeks cramming for her exams while constantly worrying about what would come next. She had been so stressed out, barely sleeping and eating, the tension preventing her from settling into her usual routine. Still, she had managed to do what she thought was her best on all the papers. But the end of the exams didn't bring its usual sense of relief. She had been sad to say goodbye to her college friends, many of whom were moving back to their hometowns or other cities for jobs. And to top it all, she had absolutely no idea what she wanted to do with her life. She was filled with doubt, scared to start a job in a field she wasn't sure of, confused about what courses she might like to pursue for her post-graduation. It had been a difficult time and she was tired and exhausted. And yet, here on a train racing through the wilderness, surrounded by strangers, she felt happier, more relaxed than she had in many months. She could almost feel the tension in her shoulders and neck melt away, and it was as though the fog in her mind that had prevented her from thinking straight had suddenly cleared. Her body felt lighter, her breath deeper. The sense of movement seemed to release something that was blocking her mind, opening up a flow of energy and joy. The gentle swaying movement released something that was blocking her mind and opened up a flow of energy and joy. As she stared out of the window, Rita felt as though she was seeing the world through a fresh, new perspective. There was something so beautiful about the neatly ordered farmlands, dotted with the occasional hut or bullock cart. Sometimes she saw children racing through the fields, tiny specks in the distance. And she imagined their faces and what their lives were like. When the train crossed a bridge, the sounds it made changed, growing briefly distant, and Rita felt a lurch in her stomach as though she were falling. But when she saw the winding river below, she was again filled with awe and wonder. The colors outside were mesmerizing, relaxing. The deep green of mango orchards, followed by the young, fresh green of paddy fields, and the azure of the lakes and rivers. It was past noon now, and Rita could no longer see the sun through a window, but watched as the shadows grew softer and longer. Just as her eyes were beginning to close, the train began to slow down and gradually came to a halt. There was silence for a moment before quiet voices filled the air, everybody wondering what had happened. Rita frowned as she looked out, but the woman across smiled and said, "Don't worry, this often happens, and usually it's just some unexpected traffic." In the meanwhile, Karun, the little boy, had woken up and climbed languidly down to see what had happened. His hair was mussed from sleep and he mumbled something to his mother. "What's happening? Have we reached Mumbai?" He crawled into the space next to Rita, still half asleep. Rita smiled down at him and then turned back to look out of the window. She continued to smile, happy to realize for the first time in her life that everything would be okay. Even though the train had stopped, her life would go on, flowing through its ups and downs, forging her own journey. And for once I have no reason to rush. I have all the time in the world, she thought to herself, and this made her feel even more calm. It was early evening and the rays of the sun were streaming in from the windows opposite hers. Rita leaned against her corner window and watched the dust dance on the beams of light. The sky had turned from blue to pale pink, streaks of bright orange and subtle hints of purple. They were between two vast and open fields. It was serene and quiet. Only the breeze created a slight ripple through the fields. Everyone seemed to have quietened down. A tea seller walked by and Rita bought a cup of tea for the two new friends she had made. They all sat in companionable silence, sipping their tea, forgetting their worries, as they watched the breathtaking sunset in all its glory. As the sky darkened, Rita heard the soft pitter-patter of raindrops on the train. She reached her hand out of her window, feeling the cool drops fall gently on her skin. The breeze was cooler now, bringing a few stray drops of rain into the compartment. The smell of wet earth seemed to rise all around them as the rain continued. Before they knew it, the train had started on its way again, slowly first, and then gradually picking up its pace. Rita leaned back on her seat, gently closing her eyes. She took a deep breath. She could feel the breeze on her face and her skin, cool and slightly damp. The ancient fan continued to whir above. The raindrops knocked a steady rhythm on the train, and the wheels below kept at their moving tempo. Sounds seemed to echo and flow gently in waves around her, and the swaying of the train relaxed her, lulled her into a deep sleep.